For those of you live, I'm going to introduce our judges. For those of you who are watching online, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it. This has been an incredibly intense weekend. The students have actually outperformed even my expectations throughout all of the different kinds of prototypes that they've done. We have simply outstanding presentations to provide you this afternoon. Today, we've had 60 students. They've formed 11 teams tackling 10 different need statements. There were 17 different need statements that people have submitted from the very beginning. Out of those, there's been some amazing professional mentors who have been here. We've had mentors throughout the entire weekend from Accenture, from Texas Children's Hospital, and from St. Joseph's Hospital. They've been simply outstanding. We've also had 2 graduate student mentors, and the EIC staff has certainly been simply outstanding as we're going through this. My name is Rodney Boehm, and I've had the privilege of being here and being around all of these wonderful students as they are breaking through barriers that we thought we had, but they know that they can break through them. So we're excited to show you exactly what's going on. What's going to happen is each team will be given 10 minutes. And those of you who can't see it online, there's a 10-minute timer with 6-foot letters in the back, making sure that all the teams stay to their 10-minute time period. We'll have a few minutes of questions and answers after that by the judges, and then we're going to continue on. Let me introduce our judges. First is Kristen Banks from Accenture, and she's been around most of the weekend, and she's been really outstanding. Second is Dr. Neil Spear. Dr. Neil Spear is here. He just joined us from St. Joseph's Hospital. Next is Dr. Hadris. He is here with biomedical engineering and is responsible for entrepreneur activities as well in the biomedical engineering. And fourth is Dr. John Mogford. Dr. Mogford is Vice Chancellor for Research for Texas A&M System. You have outstanding judges. We want all of you to succeed, and we want you to all take your ideas into startups because we know what you're able to build here is something that can change the world. So we are here to support you as you go forward. At the end, if your team wants to continue on, contact me. You'll have full access to the EIC, you'll have full access to the engineering, you'll have full access to any kind of resource you might need to form a startup and to keep going. We want you to continue developing. With that being said, this is what's going to happen. You got first, second, and third prize, $1,000, $750, and $500 developed to the team after first, second, and third prize. What we're going to do is we're going to show 6 presentations, then we're going to take a short break. Then we'll have the 5 remaining presentations, and then the judges and I will go back into a quick deliberation, and then we will present the awards. The quick deliberation shouldn't take any more than about 5 to 10 minutes. Again, get comfortable, get ready to be amazed, and it's showtime.
Good afternoon. We are Pedia Pod, putting diagnosis in the palm of your hand.
Hi, I'm Kaylin O'Connell. I'm a chemical engineer and I'm a freshman.
My name is Chris Sebastian and I'm a second-year medical student.
My name is Elena Chen. I'm a first-year medical student.
My name is Victoria Scott. I'm a senior industrial and engineering systems student.
I'm Kunal Shah. I'm a junior biomedical engineering student.
I'm Parth Sanku. I'm second-year graduate student studying industrial engineering.
We were tasked by Dr. Jeremy Gibson at the Texas A&M Health Science Center to develop a device that combines a stethoscope, an EKG, and a pulse oximeter into a single durable, portable diagnostic kit that can be used in the medical field. This particular kit is especially important in areas that are unable to find resources for providers or medical equipment. And the signs elicited by these devices will help to diagnose certain medical conditions that disproportionately affect people, children and adults in underserved areas. These are three of the most common conditions that kill children worldwide. 13 million children die annually due to a lack of healthcare access. In developing countries, the physician-to-patient ratio is 1 to 2,000. The Pedia Pod combines 3 tools in one portable device to help doctors make diagnoses in the field. The pulse oximeter reveals a patient's level of oxygen saturation. The stethoscope allows providers to listen to the heart, the airway, the vasculature, and the bowel. The EKG allows providers to catch dysrhythmias and electrolyte imbalances. We are Pedia Pod, putting diagnosis in the palm of your hand.
Okay, so for our design, we had 5 requirements. We wanted it to be portable, we wanted it to be accurate, durable, user-friendly, and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled. So for portability, if this is going overseas, we don't want physicians to be cluttered with bulky objects such as an EKG machine and separate like pulse oximeters and stethoscopes. So this combines all of them into one compact package. Also, because we had large electrical components, this is a larger version than what will be our final product. We also want it to be accurate because this is measuring physiological signals and this is very important to the health of the patients. We want it to be durable because if it breaks, the doctor would be overseas without a way to measure physiological signals. User friendliness was another aspect that we addressed because we didn't want to have the physician relearn how to use simple objects such as stethoscopes and pulse oximeters. So it's very easy to use, and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth enabled will be addressed in a further iteration of the prototype, which will allow data obtained by the device to be transmitted directly to the physician's phone.
So what we did with each of these 3 different devices was where we took the only necessary components for them that are required and we put it into the Pedia Pod. So for example, for the stethoscope, we'll use only the diaphragm. And then how it works is you'll have the headphones that you'll use, insert the headphones, and then you can listen to the heart and your lungs. And today, for demonstration purposes, we have a speaker here. So simply just listen. And how it works is essentially there's a microphone inside of here that's basically picking up the noise. Then for the EKG, we have our 3 leads here. And then for the pulse ox, we have here, you simply insert your finger and then you can take it out. And this is spring loaded. And then also it's user friendly with the design. We designed it in SolidWorks with thick walls, so it's very durable. And we also have a nice little bag that can fit in for easy travelability. So this is basically the internal components of our design. And as you can see, the stethoscope internally is located here, the EKG in the center, and then the pulse ox on this side.
So another aspect of our design that we wanted to address was integrating all the electronic components together to reduce the size. So for example, you can see the ECG shield and one Arduino in the middle. And then for the stethoscope and the pulse oximeter, there's one combined Arduino which powers both devices.
keeping with the theme of compacting everything, what does everyone always have on their cell phone? So we decided to create an application that would coincide with our Pedia Pod, and it would be Bluetooth and Wi-Fi enabled. Bluetooth just because you're not going to be able to get Wi-Fi everywhere you travel. So as you can see here, you have options for returning and new patients, an EKG, pulse oximeter, as well as the stethoscope reading. So for instance, for the EKG, you would connect your leads on the Pedia Pod, then you're going to get a reading, a live reading of the EKG as it's transmitted through the Bluetooth via the Pedia Pod to your cell phone. And this is really great also for data recording, because when you can record the data, you can also send it to other physicians, so you can have a consult to make sure what you're seeing is what someone else is seeing too.
So far we have looked at the concept, the design, and how we made Pedia Pod possible. Now let's take a look at cost and feasibility. Over the last 3 days, we used a lot of electronic components, and we found out that it took us $125 to make this one single prototype of Pedia Pod. But we also found out that 75% of our costs are due to 2 microcontrollers, which are for ECG. If we can get these microcontrollers custom built, and with scale of economies coming into factor, we think we can achieve a cost reduction of 60% and bring down the cost to $50. Now, talking about scale of economies, what scale? Which economies? Elena will take you through the broad markets which Pedia Pod will be targeting in future.
So healthcare in the U.S. is expensive. In fact, in 2011, it cost $2.9 trillion, and 36% of that was consumed by the elderly population. And a primary reason for this is because the elderly population has a much higher incidence of chronic disease. So with Pedia Pod, as a home care companion, it can help manage the care, manage patient care by participating in secondary and tertiary preventative care measures. This will not only improve it's not only improve patient outcomes, but also help decrease overall cost of care. In addition to that, for other low resource settings, Pedia Pod is obviously very useful. For example, in disaster relief, combat medicine, wilderness medicine, first responders, and all these situations where a typical medical setting is not available, Pedia Pod is extremely useful. And we would like to thank the sponsors, Texas Children's Hospital, Texas A&M Health Science Center, Accenture, and especially Aggies Invent, all the great mentors we've had with 3D printing, Michael in particular helping us with electronics. So we really appreciate everything. And again, Pedia Pod, putting diagnosis in the palm of your hand. Thank you.
Judge, we have time for a couple of questions.
Did y'all explore the possibility or feasibility of doing a 12-lead versus a 3-lead EKG?
Yes, what we actually found is that you can technically do a 2-lead EKG, not as accurate.
Right.
So you have the triangle that you're required to have for an EKG because it's tracking the electrical impulses through your heart this way.
Right.
So a 12-lead just wouldn't be feasible in, like we said earlier, an environment in which we don't have access to like a bigger EKG machine. One of the nice things about the 12-lead is the 3-lead is it does require a smaller microcontroller.
Right.
And so that's why we chose that over the 12-lead.
Makes sense. And the pulse oximeter reading on the phone, is it a heart rate and wave strength and all that stuff, or just a number?
For the pulse oximeter, it's just the oxygen reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you the strength of the wave or anything like that? Okay.
Looking at your design, is the stethoscope, is that extendable or is that?
Yes, it can be taken off here.
That's the total length?
I mean, you can make it longer, definitely.
Okay.
Right now, we just had the stethoscope like this because of size constraints, because the microcontroller that had the microphone on it was very long, so it was very hard to fit in there.
In here.
I have a related question. So how much of this design, the form factor that we see, driven by the requirements of the existing technologies versus actual human factors usage requirements? Why is it that big? Why can't it be much smaller?
Well, the Arduinos and microcontrollers we got from the EIC are larger than usual microcontrollers, I think. So I'm sure that we will be able to find smaller microcontrollers, smaller components to fit inside of our device.
Definitely, the next step of this process will be redesigning the electronics so that we can have custom-made microcontrollers which fit our exact needs, and then we can definitely get a reduction in the size and make it a bit more ergonomic.
I don't know if it needs to be smaller. The question is, do you know if it needs to be smaller?
It would be nice if it is smaller. I would like to use it if it is smaller.
One of the things we looked at was portability in like disaster relief areas and things like that, to just help it make it easier to travel and store and things like that in the future.
One more quick, what's your power supply and is it rechargeable or what? How does that work?
Well, right now it
Yeah,
is
currently
connected to a
it's-
computer,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
we could use a battery to
Yeah.
power it. And yeah, definitely solar, because we want it to be portable and use in mission fields. So yeah, definitely solar would be an option to look in future, but right now we are looking for battery power.
We also explored the option of using a capacitor to charge up the battery because these doctors are going to be on the go.
Mhm.
So as they move, it shakes, charges the battery, and wins for everybody.
Okay, thank you all very much. Okay, next team. Judge, I'll give y'all a couple minutes and we won't start until y'all are ready. Judge, so let me know when you're ready. You ready? Okay. Y'all, whenever you're ready, go on.
All right, we're gonna start y'all off with the video first.
Imagine you're a physician fresh out of medical school. A worried mother and her feverish 3-week-old newborn arrive in the emergency room. You assess the child and suspect a possible case of meningitis. In order to diagnose and treat the patient, you must correctly perform a lumbar puncture as soon as possible.
The lumbar puncture is a procedure performed by physicians to sample cerebrospinal fluid. A needle is inserted into the lower back to access this fluid. Infants have a very small space in which the needle must enter in order to retrieve a sample of cerebrospinal fluid or to introduce anesthesia. In order to minimize complications and unnecessary pain, it is critical to have a successful first attempt. There is a need for a device that meets the following requirements: help physicians visualize the space between vertebrae, maintain a sterile environment, provide hands-free imaging, minimize discomfort, and be intuitive for the physician.
Imagine using sound waves to precisely identify the location for performing a lumbar puncture. Our solution, the Precision Optimized Puncture, utilizes ultrasound technology to harmlessly visualize structures below the skin. A sophisticated yet simple device, POP guides physicians in training towards expert-level care while keeping our most precious patients safe and comfortable.
Introduce ourselves now.
I'm Bevin.
I'm Colin.
I'm Kedar. My name is Uday.
And I'm Vanessa.
I'm Luke. And today we're going to be telling you all about what we call POP, Precision Optimized Puncture. The lumbar puncture is an extremely common clinical procedure used to extract cerebrospinal fluid or to deliver drugs to the central nervous system. This enables physicians to diagnose a number of conditions, including bacterial meningitis, hemorrhage of the central nervous system, as well as to anesthetize the patient prior to their surgery. It's particularly important in pediatrics, in which bacterial meningitis is very prevalent among neonates and infants. And 38 in 100,000 infants in the United States are diagnosed with bacterial meningitis. About 77.5% of neonates admitted to United States hospitals have to undergo a lumbar puncture. Unfortunately, an estimated 65% of those have to undergo an additional lumbar puncture due to a lack of skill or accuracy on the part of the physician. Coupling an ultrasound imaging device with the lumbar puncture allows for greater accuracy and a greatly improved experience for the patient. Vanessa is going to talk to you about our problem now.
Hi. Problems with current lumbar puncture procedures. The main problem is that it can take time, especially if you have an inexperienced physician and they have to do multiple punctures. This is a big problem, especially with bacterial meningitis, where you have a very limited amount of time to treat the neonate. And then also time is just precious for any surgeon. Also, with current technology that incorporates ultrasound, one hand has to be holding the ultrasound while the other hand performs the lumbar puncture. This is very difficult and bulky and can cause problems. So a couple of approaches that we first thought about. First, we considered putting the ultrasound device in the tip of the needle. Then we considered using a fluid sensor at the tip of the needle, but we rejected both of these due to the possibility of finding blood instead of CSF and then having a false reading. So our final approach is a hands-free ultrasound that Uday will now tell you more about.
So these two images detail our components. First, you can kind of see a clear casing for 4 ultrasound transducers, as well as an adhesive strip that would be used. The clear housing allows the physician to see where they are in relation to the patient, and the adhesive strip allows for securing our device to the back of the patient. These 3 animations here show our device in use. In the neutral position, the physician is still capable of moving around the device and to find where they exactly want to place the needle. In the second step, the adhesive engagement, the physician activates the ring to apply to the back to secure the device to the patient. Finally, the physician can use the access port in the middle of the device to insert the needle and continue the lumbar puncture procedure. Kedar is going to talk about the deeper functioning of our system.
So some of the key features that we wanted to implement was that the ultrasound images be displayed next to the patient in an area that was easily accessible and viewable for the physician. And some of the ultrasound images that were outputted to this display include the 2D sagittal and transverse axes of the ultrasound image, as well as a 3D rendering because we have multiple ultrasound sensors on our device. And this 3D rendering is important because it allows the physician to manually guide the needle into the area in which the cerebrospinal fluid sample can be taken out. Finally, the adhesive strip is important because it allows the surgeon to maneuver the needle with a hands-free device that helps guide the physician. Now, Cullen will talk to us about some of the advantages of our product. Thank you.
So with our product, it improves the first-time accuracy for getting the lumbar puncture. This reduces the amount of needle sticks that the baby or child receives. In addition, because it's hands-free, both hands will be able to be available for the physician to perform the lumbar puncture, and they don't need to use an extra hand to manipulate the ultrasound. Additionally, it allows the device allows multiple planes of view for the physician, so that they can see precisely where the needle is entering through the skin to obtain the cerebrospinal fluid. And finally, the disposable adhesive enables our device to be used multiple times. For the patient, they receive fewer needle sticks, and this in turn reduces the amount of unnecessary pain they receive from multiple sticks, and it also reduces the risk of infections. And now I'm going to have Bevan talk about market analysis.
Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Bevan. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the market analysis we did. We did a lot of research on this, and we kind of broke it down into 2 different categories we wanted to share with you. That's going to be our competitors, and that's going to be the demand for our product. When we looked at the competitors, we kind of broke it down into 2 different categories. We had Mobi Sante, which is a very portable handheld device. And then we have all the other ultrasound devices out there that you find in your hospital, like the standard units, the carts, the big bulky briefcases that come around. Essentially, between the 2, or relative to each other, they aren't functionality, they aren't very different. Both devices still require the operator to use a handheld probe to visualize the internal structures and to perform whatever procedure that's ongoing at that time. The Mobi Sante portable device they have their competitive advantage in being that it's a lot smaller. The standard units might process a little bit better, but functionality wise, they're still going to have somebody holding that device right there. Cost wise, Mobi Sante is retailing for around $7,000. Your standard ultrasound devices can be anywhere from thousands of dollars to tens of thousands of dollars. Our product, after taking into account all the variable costs, we think could retail for somewhere around $500 a unit, which is a huge competitive advantage. Next, I want to tell you a little bit about the demand that we see for our product. Again, remember, this is going to be useful for physicians encountering complicated lumbar punctures or any physician in training. Hospitals, there's over 6,000 hospitals in the United States. Every single hospital can benefit from having our units on hand because physicians are going to encounter complicated patients. Medical schools, the 75 plus MD-DO programs around the nation have 20,000 plus students enrolling every single year. They can benefit from having our product on hand. And then that's the same with residency for the same purpose. Now I want to take us into kind of the future direction of our project. So what, where can this go? This product can be easily adapted to infant IV access. Same exact idea, you're going to be visualizing internal structures to help locate where the needle needs to go. With almost no modification now, it could be easily adaptable to the adult population, which is a huge boom for the market segment. And then the product can also be easily adaptable to other procedures where you are, again, trying to pinpoint a needle and an anatomical structure inside that you just can't visualize, but ultrasound would help you get there. So what do we have to do next? We need to come up with a display unit. That's going to be the next hurdle to cross. We also need to come up with some way to process the information, and we need to use actual ultrasound transducers. For our prototype, we use very simple transducers, but the next step is to get the ultrasound technology in there, but the technology is widely available, information on it's well known. And then lastly, our product is directly associated with an invasive procedure. So at some point, we're going to probably be dealing with the FDA. I'm going to turn it over to Vanessa to kind of wrap up our presentation.
With POP, we are improving patient experience, reducing pain and time, and producing better results. With a typical lumbar puncture procedure, there's a characteristic popping noise that lets the physician know that he's reached the CSF. With a neonate, you don't necessarily have this. So with precision optimized puncture, we are returning confidence to the physician by putting the POP back in their hands.
Judges, we have time for a couple of questions. How did you, what criteria did you use for placement of your transducers in the ring?
Firstly, the size of these transducers that we were provided by the EIC were the biggest constraint. This particular model was used for demonstration purposes. So having the big enough size, but then trying to keep it as small as possible at the same time, which would, because if a bigger device would weigh more and would create strain on the tissues on the back. We do have plans for a smaller model. Bevan actually's got it in his pocket. Much smaller model, which would utilize the smaller probes that are used in conventional transducers, would allow us to create a much smaller device, which could also be cheaper.
So is your plan to have 4 separate images that the physician has to analyze, or are you going to fuse, because each transducer is going to produce a separate image?
Right. Actually, sir, with the transducers, we were hoping, or we know that we can, merge 2 of the transducers together to produce 1 sagittal image, and 2 of the transducers together to produce 1, what was it actually? Transverse image. That can also actually, with further processing, be used to generate a 3-dimensional image that'll really give you a great idea of where you are in relation to all the different tissues. So that is kind of the future projection when we have better transducer technology and have, I guess, more time to work on the processing needs of generating those images.
Any concerns about sterilizing the device itself?
The main part that would have to be sterilized or changed is the adhesive strip, right. But we've actually designed it so that the adhesive strip is removed each time, and it's a separate package that can be reattached quite easily and then reused for.
Do the transducers need to contact the skin though?
No, work just like a regular ultrasound device.
Yes.
But those usually
with the gel.
You
yes,
apply
sir.
the gel.
It'll be made out of ideally some sort of medical grade plastics that will be easily sterilized, just like a normal ultrasound wand.
If the entire equipment needed to be sterilized, at least for use with actual patients, not in training purposes on models, that wouldn't be necessary. Would that be problematic?
It wouldn't be any different from how current ultrasounds work.
Okay, thank you all very much. We're gonna wait. We're gonna make sure the judges have enough time for it.
Hi, I'm Carly Spalding.
I'm Margaret Fowler.
I'm Manala Putagunta.
I'm Jessica Sovereign.
I'm Brandon Walter.
And I'm Ryan Woolsey.
And we are Opto Grid.
The two main purposes of clinical EKG monitoring are one, to establish that the heart is in the correct rhythm, and two, to detect segments of the heart that are not getting enough blood flow. And both of those abnormalities show up in the EKG. Having the current lead system means that we have to put the stickers on the patient's arms and legs and the anterior part of their chest. And then each one of those has to be connected to a wire that has to run across the patient up to the head of the bed. So that's a lot of clutter. The problem is that it's a bulky design that's cumbersome to use and it's uncomfortable for patients. On the operating table, having the patient be able to lay down on a bed, the bed automatically detects where their body's making contact, and then the bed assigns leads to the different points of contact to create the EKG. That already solves the clutter problem because we've removed all of the stickers and all of the wires from the environment.
So as you see, the current system with EKGs is very cumbersome. You have to have multiple sticky leads on a baby, and that's not very good. So our solution solves these problems, and then we're going to talk to you about how our solution impacts the practice of medicine for the world.
So imagine you're a doctor, unless of course you're already a doctor, and you're performing surgery on a patient connected to multiple wires. And now imagine your patient is about 6 inches in length. Doctors shouldn't have to maneuver around these wires while performing surgery. And if we remove the wires, we can optimize the operating room and we can optimize the operating table. But these wires also can cause skin damage and irritation to the baby.
Opto Grid's mission statement is to design an accurate and reliable device, which optimizes the ability to monitor cardiac electrical activity in a fashion comfortable to the patient. As you can see, these are the requirements that we use to help us guide us through the design process. Our product complies with current technology. It optimizes workspace, it's non-adhesive, it is very accurate, and it is reliable.
We looked at a variety of garments as potential design solutions, but decided to focus on the best solution for the operating room. In an OR setting, the garment occludes precious area on the child when operating, whereas sheets are the best solution in the OR because the EKG would be able to detect cardiac electrical activity without being a nuisance to both the patient and the surgeon.
Opto Grid has three basic functional layers, all of which contribute to this sort of bed sheet you can place over the OR and monitor a patient in real time. The bottom layer is a force-sensitive layer, which is very variable, thankfully, due to all of the sensors that you have available. What it does is when you lay the patient onto a bed, it'll sense where the patient is laying, and then it can communicate with the top layer, which will be an electrical grid, and tell that top layer to only sense for the heart rhythm in that area. That way, when the patient is on the bed, you only look for an EKG where you actually have set down the patient and not for a place where the patient is not actually touching. The middle layer is a very vital layer because during an operation sequence, the patient is immobile for a very long period of time. And what this can induce is something called a pressure ulcer or a pressure sore. So it's absolutely vital that whatever we design is very comfortable and able to sustain the patient through this period of time without damaging the skin. So right here, we have a prototype of what we designed. And because it's an EKG, I'm not going to run it right now because that's a little bit infeasible. But on our home-built system, this is a screen capture of the actual data we can collect with this prototype. And you can see a regular sinus rhythm going on. Now, I have right here the actual prototype, and I've sort of taken it apart a little bit. And this layer right here is the force-sensitive layer. And this program, this little box here, is designed to only process specific points. So when you apply force to a specific area, it will tell you this force is being applied. And then it can communicate with the top layer and tell the EKG to read at that electrode.
We've introduced a problem and our product introduces the solution. By not having wires attached to the patient, it allows more mobility and access to perform surgery, but it also eliminates any skin damage and irritation.
So we know that we have a product that can be able to solve these issues, but what does the market look like to be able to make money off of this problem, off of this product? Well, the unique part about us as a team is the market approached us. We had doctors like Dr. Kim Brady and also Dr. Carlos Murray, anesthesiologists and cardiosurgeons who work with these on a daily basis, who came to us and said, this is a problem that I have in my own office. Can you do something about it? So because that we have these two case studies to work off of, we know that there is a potential market for us to work with. But what is the scope of this market? How big can this get? Well, because there's a lot of details that have to go into that, that'll be tailored based on our business plan itself, whether we want to do direct licensing, whether we want to just license to multiple hospitals. We can't be for sure on the exact scope of the market. However, what we can do is we can take the amount of use for EKGs that have been used in the most recent studies, how much they cost, and compare the sum total of those to the potential market. So adding that up, we get something around a market of about $6.9 billion that we can hopefully be able to tap into. We would only be dealing with a segment of this market, but that's the scope that we could end up encompassing in the future. Now, currently, EKG systems cost around $970 to about $6,000 in order to make it. With this prototype that you see right here, which is a functioning EKG, we cost us around $40 to build it, considerably cheaper than the current method. However, it's not as accurate as we would like it, especially for FDA standards. So considering all the updated materials that we would have to have, we marked it up to about $1,200 in order to produce our EKG, still considerably cheaper than the majority of what's working in the system today. So you've seen the product, you've seen the market, but we know that you wouldn't just be buying into our product and market, you'd be buying into us as a team. And we want you to know that we are a team that is dedicated in order to be able to see this product through and see it flourish and accomplish its goal. We are a unique blend of people in med school, of architects, of engineers, of business-minded individuals, all who are connected with this dream of seeing these solutions of a lack of comfort and optimization of doctors' performance seen through with our product. Now, there are areas that we can access beyond just the medical field. One in which is very particular and we believe is the future for EKGs is that of exercising in the workout realm, especially for people who want to stay fit even though they might be in risk and have weaker hearts. From the Dr. Ken Brady, whenever he talked to us, he's already done studies and conducted algorithms on this issue. And he stated that if we're able to get a functioning EKG working on a person while they're working out, if they are at risk of a heart attack, it could predict that 4 hours before it actually occurs. So this isn't a market that we don't want to stop here.
We want this idea to build, to flourish, and to infect more than just the market that we're looking at right now. We want this to expand to encompass greater things and to be involved in more individuals' lives.
As you can see from each of these photos and videos, the current technology for an EKG is in need of an overhaul. You have electrical leads attached to a baby that, number one, cause skin irritation. They're very cumbersome for the doctor and decrease mobility for the doctor and for the patient. So our solution in Opto Grid gets rid of all three of these problems and provides a more optimal, more up-to-date solution to the EKG. Also, we believe that this product can have a huge impact on the practice of medicine in the future.
Whenever I was little, I remember whenever I was notified that my 6-month-old baby cousin, Elizabeth Woolsey, had died. She was only 6 inches whenever she perished. She had to have 12 EKGs on her during this entire surgery process. You saw the images of the children, of how cluttered it was on their bodies, and of how difficult it could be, even for you that are in the medical industry, to operate around those leads. Please join us in making our dream come true and in removing these leads, making it comfortable for children, and optimizing doctor performance. Thank you so much.
Judges, we have time for some questions.
Do you have any idea if this would have the sensitivity to do a diagnostic EKG versus a monitoring EKG? And that might be, I don't know, that might be a complex question for y'all.
So the in-house system we have was difficult to work with, so it's hard to scale. However, we had the original project envisioned was sort of a grid of electrodes. And essentially what we would do is you could space the electrodes enough so that they don't touch, but they're small enough so that you have a very wide variety. And you'd be able to incorporate many different vectors into your electrical gradient when measuring it. You could essentially have as much as your bed sheet would allow different vectors to measure the potential differences across.
I have a question more for my own understanding. So how does the patient or the baby interact with this? I mean, how is it connected to the?
It's a bed sheet that they would lay on. So this one is a little bit, it would not be designed for a child because the leads are quite far apart. But when it was refined, you could actually design the electrodes out of something like a golden wire that you could weave thin enough into a fabric that would function effectively like cloth, but also provide that conductive surface you need to have the EKG run. And if you have enough of them, you'd be able to map that and essentially have an EKG reading of your whole child.
Okay.
Did that answer your question, or is there something else?
So where would the actual leads be placed on the child?
The leads, there are no leads placed on the child. It would just be them being in contact with the bed sheet.
So
Now, it is important to bring up that if you only have a 2D plane, there are vectors you are going to miss. That could be alleviated by having a single lead come off of the bed sheet and placed on top of the patient. And that would allow you to have a 3-dimensional vector plane that you could measure all of your voltages in.
Much more efficient than having 12 stuck all over.
Okay, good. Time for one more question, if there is one. Okay, thank you all very much.
Thank you all.
We're waiting for the judges. All ready? Okay, go ahead.
Do you worry about the health of your baby? And do you lose sleep? According to Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, each year in the United States, there are about 3,500 sudden infant deaths, also known as SIDS. These trends are extremely worrisome. It would be tragic for any parent to find their infant in this situation. Fortunately, we have a solution to combat some of these challenges. Meet HEBA. HEBA consists of 2 easy attachable components,
A wearable button tracks the baby's orientation and alarms the parent if the baby is in a dangerous position. Simply hook the HEBA button onto the shirt and let it give you a peace of mind. Also, if the baby is sick and you'd like to keep a close watch on important vitals such as respiration rate, temperature, and heart rate, then simply attach the soft, comfortable, and adjustable band that we provide. View the key vitals on the dashboard and even present the data to a pediatrician to accurately monitor your child's health. HEBA.
Hi, my name is Macy Mays. This is my team, Shashan, Tim, and Shatina. Now that you have been introduced to the problem, let me tell you a little bit more about it. In the US, each year, about 3,500 babies die as a result of SIDS. It strikes without warning, and the cause is unexpected. SIDS, also known as sudden infant death syndrome, is not very researched, and the cause is something that needs to be apparent. So can we solve this? As you can see by the graph, since the 1990s, the trend has gone down, but this is not enough, and it's unacceptable. SIDS is a very sad and tragic event, but thankfully our team has come up with a solution. Shashan will tell you about how we got into it.
Thank you, Macy. Now, Macy has introduced that we have a problem. Now, when we were thinking about a solution, we saw that there are a lot of existing products which offer individual, I would say, features, but there's not a single product which kind of combines all these features into one, which will provide an easy tool or easy device for home purpose so that parents can monitor their child. Now, I saw that there were some devices which should monitor whether the child is sleeping on the stomach so that they can go and get it right. But then that device wouldn't really measure a lot of vital statistics like temperature, respiration rate, and probably heart rate. So we came up with a solution where we combined all these facilities into a single device that would, like for example, there are some devices which would measure the respiration rate in hospitals, but that is not available in household situation. So we would combine the pros of each of them and put into one device. That's what our solution was, and provide us data interface so that a parent could see the notification on his phone when the child is in a discomfort zone, or probably we could show the dashboards to a doctor to see, understand them what were their vital statistics over the night, and probably a doctor could understand more information about what happened the previous night. Now, this is an overall solution of the system wherein we can see that the baby, has a probably wearable device. Now the data is transferred to a centralized server from where the data will be presented. The notifications on the data will be presented to the parent as emergency notifications, and also we will have a website probably which will show a lot of statistics and information to any doctor or analyst who wants to analyze what were the key vitals. Now, the product, when we were thinking of the product, there were a lot of constraints. Like if we put a band, it will be uncomfortable for the child. Like one of the device, if we put a single Velcro, which is very small, but it cannot really measure all the vitals. So we came up with a solution where we have two devices, and one of them is this. It's a 3D printed model. Now it is a simple device where you strap it onto the t-shirt of a baby, and then this will measure the motion and the orientation of the child. And if the child sleeps on the stomach, it will send an alarm through a Wi-Fi. And we also have a secondary device, which is the chest strap, which we saw on the video, this device can be attached onto it to measure more important vitals. This is a very small device. It cannot really measure everything accurately because it will not touch upon the important points of the body. So the strap would kind of cover more area, and it will combine with this device and read more accurate data and then transfer the data. Now I'll pass it on to Chaitanya, who will discuss more about the technical design, what we came up with. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sushant. So basically, we have to sense the various parameters like the heart rate, the temperature, and also the respiratory rate, along with the motion of the child. The primary sensor used for motion was an accelerometer, which basically gave the orientation of the child
and it clearly stated that if the child rolls on its side, it gives the alarm to the parent. So that is how we did motion detection. Another feature was a baby cry detection. So if the baby is in some discomfort, we basically captured the noise of the baby, and if that noise was above some say threshold, we gave an alarm to the we created an alarm and notified the parents. The crucial aspect of the band design was implementing a stretchable sensor on the band which could measure the movements of the heart, which could be directly proportional to the respiratory rate. So that was a novel idea in our design. And the most important is all the sensors were made wireless because for the babies, the wires would be a major discomfort. So all the system and all alarm system, everything is wireless. So, and now Tim can give a small demo of our project.
Sure. This is our prototype. I'm sorry for the wires, but there are quite a few of them. We have a lot of sensors that go into, this is the button. Whenever you hook it up to your Wi-Fi, you can tell which position your baby is turned in. So if you turn it, you can see that your baby's lying on its right side and it's lying on its belly. We also have a sound sensor, so you know when your baby's crying, and also a heart rate monitor. Now all of these are hooked up to Wi-Fi through a wireless module, so that the parents can get the information at the palm of their hand. Now that leads me into the dashboard. The dashboard is the parent cannot constantly monitor the baby, so the parent has access to all the baby's vitals. So if something goes wrong, the parent can receive active notifications from their phone so that they can potentially save their baby's life. So that's very important. Another thing that is worthy of notice is that it's stored online so that if you go for a doctor's visit, the doctor can analyze the information and provide the proper treatment for your baby. Further possibilities for this technology, studies are a great opportunity. So studies for SIDS is very, they're very hard to find and they're very hard to do. So taking the data from the button, from the band, will provide information to researchers that can help find potential causes of SIDS and lead them to a solution. One other thing that comes to mind for future possibilities is you don't necessarily have to use it for a baby. You could use it for an adult that has health problems as well. If they want to keep track of someone who is at home, a patient at home, they can keep track of their vitals. So that's all we have for you today. On behalf of our team, we would like to thank you for your time.
Judge, do we have time for some questions?
Any consideration for a camera?
Yes, it's possible to use a camera. There are cameras out there. The idea of the project was to combine everything into one. So having a camera on a baby, you'd want to mount it on the crib. So it's possible to implement the server in such a way that you can use monitoring software. You can digitally analyze the picture and even add some more technical devices to it. But as far as the button and the strap goes, that is something that needs to be worn. I don't think the baby wants to have a GoPro.
That is directed toward the face. Could you image the face from your system?
From your system? I would say not. The system itself needs to be small enough to where you can have a camera constantly monitoring it. So a small battery is very, it's a necessity. So the closest solution you could get to that is to get a small CMOS camera and to take a picture maybe once a minute. But there's no guarantee that you're going to get the face, or it might, since it's poking out, it might just knock it off.
So was position the best way to detect the risk of SIDS, or were there other physiologic parameters that you guys considered?
We could have used the pressure sensors on the side of the baby to in order to ensure that if the baby rolls on its side, that pressure sensor might be activated and would give would give notification that okay, the baby is now rolling and it's about to roll on the stomach.
So as far as the causes of SIDS, this is a very high priority for doctors. They want to make sure that the parents of these babies know that that's very important. The studies have shown that that is one of the major causes. There could be many causes, but that is one major cause.
After there was a research done, we could see the number of SIDS have reduced, but it's still not completely eliminated. So there could be potentially many reasons, but I think from our research we couldn't find these are the particular list. The list is still open.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Sneaking up behind it. I'll wait for the judges to be ready. Are y'all ready? Ready? Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Robert.
I'm Seema.
I'm Tessa.
And my name is Clayton. And we are putting the fun back in fundoscopy. And our product is Eyecare. Now, please enjoy this video that we have prepared for you today.
Retinopathy of prematurity is a disease that impacts thousands of premature children nationwide. Retinopathy of prematurity is a disorder where the back of the eyeball, when you have a premature infant, their eyeball is going to be immature as well. And so their blood vessels in the back of their eyes could potentially not be developed properly. This could lead to retinal detachment and could render the child blind. Currently, if the diagnosis is caught very early on, this is a very treatable condition and the child can have vision. But as you could see, based on this video, that our current diagnostics is very, very primitive. So as you saw in this video, these are the instruments that physicians currently use to diagnose this procedure. They use a tool called a specula, which is placed behind the eyelid to pop the baby's eyelid open. They use a tool called an indenter to press on the eyeball, and then they use an indirect fundoscope to manually look at the eye. And while they're doing all of this, they are physically drawing out what they're saying somehow, using like a third hand or something. And so clearly there is definitely room for improvement. And imagine this whole procedure taking place in the hospital while you have a 28 to 32-year-old infant screaming in agony. So clearly there's room for improvement. So
the solution to this problem has several requirements. And first and foremost, our main priority is comfort to the baby. But we also want the test to be quick and easy to perform. Also, in order to have an effective diagnosis, you need a really wide field of view of the retina and some way to magnify the image. Lastly, we want to address how they're documenting the results of the test. We think that there needs to be a more efficient way of doing this in a more effective way. So initially, our idea was to use ultrasound with Doppler to visualize the vessels in the eye. We wanted to do this because the baby would be more comfortable because their eyes would be closed during the procedure and you wouldn't need the speculum under the eyelids. The only problem is that it's unfamiliar to physicians. They have to learn a new way of diagnosing this problem because the image looks different. And it's also a less detailed image in terms of the vessels that you're looking at. So our second idea was to use a direct fundus lens, which is shaped kind of like this. And it gets placed directly on the patient's eye. And then the physician looks through and can see to the retina. And this is also more comfortable to the baby than using the speculum to separate the eyelids. It's easier for the physician to use, and since it's placed directly on the eye, it has a very wide field of view of the retina. It doesn't address the problem of how they're documenting the results of the test. And so we decided to take this fundus lens one step further and attach it onto a smartphone. So our device is an attachment between the fundus lens and the smartphone. And this would allow them to actually be taking photos or maybe a short video of the retina that they're seeing through the lens. And this, first of all, makes it easier to monitor the progression of the disease, making it easier to treat because you have the past photos. And through the app, it could even be uploaded onto the electronic health record.
All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about our prototype and break each component down so you can have a better understanding of how it works with the overall device. So as we talked about earlier, we are integrating the use of a direct fundoscope with a smartphone mountable device. And so the first component is the fundoscope itself. This is inserted into this clamp so that it can be used by the physician with our device. As you can see in the picture on the slide, the fundoscope is placed directly on the eye like we talked about before. So next we have the clamp itself. And we wanted to create a clamp that was variable in size so that doctors could use different size fundoscopes to meet the needs for patients with different size eyeballs. Next, this is one of the most critical components of our design is the optics chain. The traditional fundus lens is held pretty far away from the eye, and so it spreads out the light quite a bit, and we needed to focus that light back down into the image sensor of the phone. So as you can see in that image, that first red shape is the fundus lens. It spreads out the light quite a bit, so immediately afterwards we have to place another lens to focus this light down. A second lens is used to collimate this light or straighten out the beam to direct it towards the smartphone image sensor. A third adjustable lens can be moved back and forth to focus the beam of light down into the image sensor to create a nice crisp image to be analyzed by the user. Another component of our device, which I would like to demonstrate here, try to plug in the battery, is this red, green, and blue LED. As you can see, it's cycling through many different colors of the rainbow, and these can be used by the doctor to get better images through the device. And this is controlled right here with an Arduino microcontroller. In the future, we would have a dedicated microcontroller, which would allow us to shrink the size down and make it a less cumbersome device. The last component is the app itself. As you can see, the app is used to control the color of the light. And the reason the doctor might want to do this is because with different colors of light, you can get better resolution and make different components of the image show up better. For instance, hemoglobin absorbs green light. And so when using green light, you can get a much better image of where the veins in the retina are, which can help with diagnosis of retinopathy. Using the app, you can also take pictures and take video which can be uploaded to the electronic health record after annotations are made on the app.
So the last innovation for our product is that it automatically syncs up with the electronic health record. What this does is it allows an easy and accessible documentation, and it turns a once very difficult procedure that was required a physician to do, now it becomes a procedure where a nurse or a technician can do the procedure. The financial implications of this are huge. So if we take the workload from the physician and now apply it to the nurse or technician, we can save about $40 per screening. And with over 400,000 screenings occurring in the United States per year, we can save about $16 million. But that's not all our design can do. We believe that there's a lot of attachments, a lot of things that you can adjust about our design to make this more appealing. We believe that you can apply a pressure sensor, so whoever's performing the procedure can understand how much pressure they're applying to the patient's eye. We also believe that you can make the scope a little bit longer so that you turn a pediatric design into a global design. We believe that this product can transform the way that eye examinations are performed around the planet. Anybody can perform this as long as they understand how to use a smartphone. And so somebody in the most remote place of the world can get an eye examination and still receive a medical diagnosis from a board-certified physician halfway around the world. Imagine all the things, all the wonderful things that you've seen throughout your life. Wouldn't it be a great gift to give millions of people across the world with just a simple innovation? Thank you.
Judges, questions? Anybody? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Great job. We have one more team before we'll take a short break. We're gonna wait. We don't get loaded. I'm gonna wait until the judges are ready. Okay. Okay. Are y'all ready? Okay. All right. Take it away.
Hi everyone. My name is Kyle. Hi, my name is Yao.
My name is Wasi.
My name is Srishti.
Hi everybody. My name is Ruan.
We are Medbridge. We're a multi-surface platform interaction between doctors, nurses, and the patient. We're going to start out with our video showing what's currently on the market as to what we bring to it.
Amazing grace.
The baby won't stop crying. The mother sees her rash. She goes online to search what the rash is, but can't find out what it is. Now she doesn't know what to do or how urgent the situation is. She tries explaining the rash to the nurse on the phone, but the nurse isn't sure what to do because she can't see it. It'll be several days before an appointment is available, and the mother is frustrated. Now imagine the mother has noticed a rash on the child and decides to log into Medbridge. She navigates through the easy-to-use 3D body locator to pinpoint exactly where the rash is and the symptoms associated with it. She then simply uploads a picture of the rash and sends it into the clinic. After just a few short minutes, the nurse gives her a call. The nurse has reviewed the picture and information and tells the mother it's a minor issue and just to use Benadryl to reduce the symptoms. Both parties are now happy, and the mother has been administered care effectively, and the nurse was able to give a sound medical recommendation, all thanks to Medbridge.
So why is there a need for what we're doing? Currently, there is a long patient wait time. They go into the office and they have to wait a long time to see the doctor, and the amount of time they're seeing. Mild cases are not treated efficiently. A lot of times, these visits are unnecessary, such as in mild cases. Patient retention, keeping the patients they have, is difficult because a lot of times they don't like the service because of the things I just described.
So the solution that we are providing is an interactive solution which helps improve communication between the patient and the healthcare provider. So everybody who has a child here or ever has a child here knows what it is to decide whether or not to take the child to the clinic or not, or how urgent is the situation. Can it wait until tomorrow? Can it wait until 3-4 days? Is it something that has to go to ER right now? So if there was a solution where you could put in, the mother could put in the symptoms of what the child is going through, the nurse could view all this through the symptom checker with the 3D body map. And if the nurse could probably check in with the previous medical history and be able to connect the dots, then probably this could be a better solution. There could be better communication, which would lead to better healthcare for everybody.
By using our solution, so we can gain a lot of benefits. The first one that we can think about is we can reduce, we can improve the accessibility, saying that we have a lot of data shared among the doctor, patient, and the nurse. And then by that, we would create a very better relationship between the patient and doctor. And another one we can think about is that we reduce the unnecessary doctor visits, saying that we just have a nurse to give a lot of feedback to the patients, saying that you don't need those mild requests to come to see the doctors. And by that, we also reduce the long patient wait time by filtering more time to leave the real needs to see the doctor and give more ample time for the doctor office time. Yes.
Our top 3 requirements are user friendliness, patient retention, and also trustworthy data. Now we will show you a video of our app through a website. I will be showing you the Medbridge website. Here, you'll create an account with an access key, username, and password. Here, you will be able to log in. Here, you will do the symptom check. You will click a body part, answer some questions. You will be able to add a comment, attach a picture and video. And when you submit, the process data will be sent to the clinic. Here, you'll be able to participate in a live video chat. This will end the call. This shows who is online. Here, you'll be able to update your personal information. You'll be able to add members to. You will be able to upload documents. This will show your medical history and your past hospital visits. And here you'll get your messages that you receive from the clinic. You will be able to add personal notes. Thank you for listening.
So we not only have a website, we also design an app for patients to easily upload their information. So they after they go to the manual, they can go to their profile and update their information. They can choose their preferred doctors or hospitals, and they can also choose to view one of their symptoms they updated earlier. And they can also view their medical history, that such as the last visit to a hospital they did a long time ago. And they can also message directly interact with doctors and nurses. Here is the 3D model symptom checker we actually talked about.
So assume that your child is having a runny nose. So you go to the body, then you click the head, then you click the nose, and then you can pick something like a runny nose, which basically is so much easier, eliminates language barrier, is very quick, much faster. if the doctor has some of these symptoms before the patient checks in, he can kind of have a fair idea of what are the patients he's going to see and what symptoms do they have.
So the data reception, I know a lot of patients, like the concern of a lot of patients is the privacy issue. So we have our data encrypted in the server side and decrypted in the user side. So it's always, during the transaction, it's always encrypted. And the nurses and doctors can check their records so that they can shorten the questionnaire time. They can even ignore that, like omit that period. And then so that patients will have shorter waiting time.
As far as the business aspects go, we plan to approach this selling it to the clinics themselves, and then the clinics will distribute an access code to their current patients. And so the patient's use is free. So what's the incentive for the clinic to buy in, right? So patients, as time has gone on, the medical field has realized patient satisfaction has become a lot bigger of a problem. And so they're trying to address that. And so this makes the patient a lot happier. You know, if you're with a hospital that offers it, or a clinic that offers this service, you're not going to want to leave because you're not going to get it somewhere else. And then our next steps after going forward, one of them would be including a survey at the end of the app to where you could rate it. And that way we could collect that data and show it to clinics as a proof that, hey, this is working. People are liking this. You should buy into it as well.
We also want to make sure the patient information is secure and also the transfer of documents is safe. And we also want to make all paperwork electronic, therefore it is more organized and accessible.
So just to wrap things up, what we're doing is creating a better relationship between the patient and the doctor and the nurse. We're also reducing unnecessary doctor visits. A lot of times when those visits can be cut out, more important visits can be taken into account, and the doctor isn't so overloaded. That means he can spend a little bit more time with each of those patients that really needs it. So everyone coming in is a little bit more satisfied. And then improving the accessibility, as I mentioned before, as well as reducing the patient wait time, because they filled out stuff prior and they already have some of the information when they arrive at the office. We would just like to thank you for your time.
Judges, questions?
My only concern, if I was going to look to buy this product for my clinic, would be what about missed symptoms or things? Because, you know, you're dealing with people that aren't medically trained and they see a rash or a cough, and you know, and that's what they're focusing on. But a lot of times there's other symptoms that they don't appreciate, and I would be concerned about liability issues as far as malpractice issues. You know, if I said, "Oh, it's nothing to worry about," and then it ended up being something to worry about, that I would have picked up in clinic. And so that would be my hesitation as a pediatrician in purchasing this type of product. I don't know if that came up or if y'all thought about that.
That is one thing that we did consider, especially when you mentioned about checking in, when somebody who does not have medical knowledge is putting in symptoms for something like a mother, a super really worried mother putting in for a child. So that is why we want to decode this entire language. The language that a physician understands is so much different from what normal people say. So something like blood in stools is so much different as compared to hematostasia, right? So that is what we meant by putting in like runny nose. That is what we wanted to demonstrate there.
And as far as,
decode it.
and as far as the liability, so already people will call into the nurse and, you know, kind of give them a rundown of what's going on. And the nurse may kind of give them advice anyway. This just kind of helps them be able to see it and maybe make a more educated guess of what's going on. I mean, it already happens. The nurse, you know, may be wrong over the phone anyway. This just helps correct it a little bit. Obviously, they're not going to be right all the time, but if it would be different if it was in writing, like if the nurse had said, you know, do this. But it already happens over phone, and so that's what we're going to keep it doing. The nurse, you send in a message. The nurse doesn't necessarily message back. When they're available, they call you or video chat you back.
The only thing I would advise, you know, like looking at algorithms and stuff, I would cue the mom or whoever's the caretaker, just about more critical symptoms, right? Yeah, they have rash and cough, right? What's their temperature? You know, and the app should trigger those things. You know, count their respiratory rates for how many breaths they take in 10 seconds. You know, how many is that? Because that's what we worry about. You know, and so we don't want to say it's nothing to worry about when the kid has pneumonia or meningococcemia or something that's acutely life-threatening. Because there are things that are non-critical and don't need to be seen, but there's a lot of overlap. And there's a lot of subtleties that can be missed.
Yes. So
The
part of
video would help with that. Though.
Okay. So yeah, part of our site, we have a notes section, which right now is just basically like your iPhone notes, but where you can, like if you're a mother, you can kind of track all this stuff so it's all compiled in one place. One thing we could do going forward is expand that and make it a more detailed system like you're talking about, to where it's not just you putting in notes, but where there's a system and you can log those specific things like breathing. That could be a step we take later on.
Can I just add one point? So the server is actually going to contact with, it's going to actually process the medical history data, like contact the medical history database, and then they'll look into what could be a complementary symptom along with it. It will ask the patient that question.
Yeah, see, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Last question. So what if you don't have a smartphone or access to the internet? I mean, are we reaching a point where it's more cost effective for clinics to hand out a simple camera or some type of connectivity?
So
aside from the pictures, you're somewhat dead in the water, aren't you, without this?
Correct.
An internet connection would be a restrictive boundary for using this kind of system.
Our goal is to make an app, a software, so we'll need internet. We'll assume there is internet connection and present.
And we assume that we have a lot of platform included into that. Make sure that accessibility.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a really quick break. We're going to take only 10 minutes. We're going to start up again right at 4:30. So thank you very much.
So you gotta know. Right, you've seen this stuff on your phone now. That's a very good idea. I mean, some of their ideas, they're good ideas, but they just don't have experience and training to know some perils and pitfalls, you know. Right. That can't be. Sorry. Mark Nielsen. Nice to meet you, Mark. Yep.
You must be Kristen.
I am. Nice to meet you.
This is
It is. Some good ideas.
That they were able to pull it off. So
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. It's interesting to watch him starting from just a SMP from the standpoint.
Right. Like natural prototypes. I know, it's amazing. It's pretty cool stuff. Yes.
It's really great.
I'd love to have the retina scope in my office.
Was it that exciting?
And I wouldn't use it for retinopathy, but you know, for just red reflex and real simple stuff. Direct ophthalmoscopy is very difficult in kids.
I can't wait to hear. I mean, I'm not a
Right.
doctor. I'm just a
Right.
no background here, so
It's just all of these things.
You know what?
Yeah.
With the embedded embed.
Yeah.
Because even for
if they were waiting wirelessly,
right.
You know, I was
So
gonna
tedious.
ask, what about people?
Sure.
Yeah. Something
I think,
some sort of
you know, have it in clinics,
to the-
and instead of having to go in a room and hook up all this stuff, you know, lay down there. All right. I mean, you can get it done, because it takes 30 minutes to do an EKG. just because of hooked up time and they're actually on the machine for many talks. You know, but the hook prep time is yeah. And so yeah,
It is.
you just have to
Oh, okay, so we're standing in front of me.
But the thing is too, with Texas, saying pre-participation a little bit of participation, and we're all struggling with how we screen everything. You know, the time constraint.
Thank you. So what?
Oh, yeah.
What were you guys?
Oh,
7, 8, 9.
It would be nice to actually
Break. Grab some water. What's up? Oh, next up, you just get up.
Yeah, I wanna learn the thing.
But then there are often questions are not addressed, and that's the one encounter of that 1 year. And it really is a concern.
Yeah.
Depression. Or I saw you had ADHD, you know, academic or secondary diseases or orientation or domestic violence, which is often not addressed. And then picking those few things that really
Thank you.
If I could just look at the log it's just sneaking.
Make sure you're loud too.
Yeah. How loud? Like that? Where it's too loud?
No, as loud as you can go.
It's not saying go.
Yeah.
That's a little
Actually,
awkward.
that'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be fine. This was before.
I hadn't seen the finished product. I saw them pulling it out earlier, and I was like, yeah, that was awesome. Yeah.
And in the, not even like a sunset. Yeah.
I mean, but if you go to the doctor and you have an eye that doesn't fit your socket, you know, that's another problem.
This is the on deck circle. So yeah.
All right, let's start gathering back again, please. Let's start gathering back in. Again, let's start gathering back in again, please.
Daughter's she's pre-med.
All right, we're missing Dr. Cecilio. Did he? Okay, we'll wait.
Yeah.
We'll wait. Yeah, let's just start, everybody start gathering back in. We'll get started here in just 1 second. Thank you all for all being here. Thank you for everybody being involved. It's really been an outstanding weekend. I know you're all exhausted. I know you all have school again tomorrow, but after 3 days, at least you'll get a chance to take a break with Thanksgiving. So I hope everybody's going to enjoy some good time with friends and family during Thanksgiving. One other thing I want to let you know is that if you are interested in continuing to pursue your project, we absolutely want to help you. Get in touch with me. I will call together everybody who's interested after we get back from Thanksgiving break, and I'll let you know on how to connect back in to the entrepreneur activities here on campus. Welcome again to the second half of our presentations, and I'm going to let our next presenters take it away.
Strabismus is a disorder resulting in the misalignment or wandering of one or both eyes due to a weak, dysfunctional, or damaged extraocular muscle. Strabismus currently affects over 948,000 Americans. In many cases, it is either congenital or develops in early childhood. Although surgeries exist to correct for the misalignment of the eye, they typically do not restore functionality, significantly reducing the quality of life. We have a solution. Our multidisciplinary team of engineers and doctors has created the Responsive Ocular Realignment Instrument, or Rory, which would correct the position of the eye and restore full range of motion. Our design replaces the damaged muscle with a smart prosthesis that can contract and relax in response to the other functioning extraocular muscles. This invention would provide those affected with strabismus a chance to have full range of motion in their eye, something which is currently not available. EOMI hopes that this product can create a foundation upon which further research can be conducted, finding a permanent solution for strabismus.
The resting position of the eye is determined by the equilibrium of tension forces between 6 different muscles, commonly known as extraocular muscles. For each cardinal direction that the eye can move in, there is a muscle that functions in the opposite direction. For me to look midline, I have a muscle on the right side of my eye and a muscle on the left side of my eye that are both pulling with the same amount of tension in order to keep my eye directed midline. Unfortunately, in a number of cases, these muscles can become unbalanced. In strabismus, commonly known as lazy eye or perhaps wall eyes, what happens is weakness of a single muscle due to a variety of different factors causes the eye to deviate, laterally or medially, depending on where the weakness is in the muscle. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, as you saw in the video earlier, strabismus causes severe double vision. It can also cause blurriness, and unfortunately, for a lot of children, ridicule by their peers. Since 1839, when a German ophthalmologist did the first muscle resection of an extraocular muscle, the process has been refined, but the surgery remains largely unchanged. Unfortunately, one of the side effects of the surgery is that while the eye is restored to the midline position, unfortunately, the eye becomes fixed in that position. In order for the patient to look towards their left or towards their right, they have to turn their entire head. We, as a team, decided to get together and come up with a novel method of restoring the function of the eye using an intelligent extraocular prosthesis. My name is Yusuf Chauhan. I am a second-year medical student.
I'm Carlos Mejia. I'm an electrical engineer, graduate student.
My name is Sebastian Tomasia. I'm an industrial and systems engineer.
My name is Tiffany Chan. I'm a first-year medical student.
My name is Juan Valencia, and I'm a freshman engineer.
My name is Abby Dowd, and I'm a sophomore electrical engineer.
My name is Connor Lyons, and I'm a junior supply chain management major.
And I will now hand it off to Abby to talk about our needs.
So our need statement was to design a smart extraocular muscular prosthesis that could respond to signals from the other normally functioning muscles in the eye. So our main requirements were that our prosthesis must respond to the other muscles in the eye. It must restore or recreate the function of a normal muscle, so expanding and contracting. It must minimize harm to the patient. It must be durable and have little to no maintenance, and it must be aesthetically pleasing. So Carlos is going to tell us about our design possibilities.
During the brainstorming, we came with 3 different ideas. The first one was to do a spring with a material that can be flexible and rigid in certain region of tension. The second one was to make a mechanical system based on 3 different cylinders, such that they compensate the tension of the muscle. And the last one was an electrical solution based on the sensing of the normal muscle, compensate the tension in the weakness, one. And finally, after doing research and talk with experts, we came to a unique solution.
As Carlos was mentioning, our 3 prototypes separately included a mechanical support. Second, it included an electrical device. And third, it included the use of properties of materials. For our final device, we decided to use all of the attributes that we came up with. And in our design, we came up with a mechanical support that gave tension to the weak muscle, and we gave it the electricity acts as an actuator for the material that's going to make sure that it is responsive to the other side of the eye. And I'm going to hand it off to Juan to tell you a little bit more about our model.
So the way that our model works is that we have a 3-point system where we have a motor attached to the middle of the 3-point system. This is just a translation to the actual concept, where we're actually using the model to give tension where a naturally actuating material would be. So instead of it actually being a mechanical muscle, it is actually a material that can, it responds to an electric stimulant or magnetic stimulant, and then either flexes or releases according to that stimulant. And it is all responding to the other muscle with a tension sensor. And that is the innovative part about it, that any other surgery can make it move right, but nothing else can make it contract to actually move left. And that's why it restores full motion. All right, I'm gonna pass it on to Tiffany.
Okay, so how are we actually going to get this to work in a real person? Well, the first thing we have to do is make this small enough to fit into the area around the eye within the eye socket. We would anchor the prosthesis to the surrounding bone, and we would power it using a battery, a very small, thin battery that could go underneath the skin. You wouldn't be able to see it, but you could possibly recharge it wirelessly through inductive charging. So we could put the charging source in something every day, as in like glasses frames, or even in your pillow, so you could charge overnight. We would also have to use very biocompatible materials to avoid any complications such as rejection by the body or possible formation of scar tissue. And Connor will tell us why that's important.
So to sum it up, basically what we have here is we have a synthetic muscle. So what's going on is, just to recap, we're getting an electrical signal from this little sensor right here, and it detects when this muscle on the left side of my eye is going to loosen or tighten. So as we all know, right, when one muscle tightens, the other one has to loosen for the eye to turn. So it detects when this one's going to loosen, and then when that one loosens, it knows, oh, okay, it's ready to turn right, I'm going to tighten up over here. And then when this one tightens, it does the inverse and loosens. The reason that this is important is in traditional surgery, the way that they allow for people to have kind of, a standard aesthetic look, when you have severe cases of this, is they just stitch the eye in place where you actually can't turn it at all. So this is a big, big break in the sense that it will allow for a full range of motion in the eye. Right now, we don't really have any system in place for severe cases like this, but this would theoretically allow for a patient who has a severe case of strabismus where they would normally just have to have an eye fixed straight in a straight location, be able to have a full range of motion just like a normal person. You couldn't even tell it apart. On top of that, we have the possibility of putting a small microchip mounted in several places around the head, and it would have a small battery in it. You could have that battery be replaceable, or you could use inductive charging to charge it to keep it powered. The reason that we've gone with this design is because after consulting with some of the doctors at Texas Children's, this is what they feel is the most feasible design, the one that they want us to explore the most. The reason why this project right here is important, however, is because of the potential here, not only for eye surgery, but surgery as a whole. This electrosensitive, basically memory wire, what it allows you to do is it allows you to have force going in two ways. You can have it contract when you have an electrical signal and expand when you don't. That's something that we don't really have. It opens up a world of possibilities, not only in medicine, but in industry, in research. And so putting time and money into it now will pay off in dividends in the future and give you an exponential benefit. So the last thing I want to leave you with is you may be wondering, why do we call ourselves EOMI? Why is our team name EOMI? Well, that stands for extraocular muscles intact. That's a note that doctors put down when they check your motion, they make you move their eyes around. Extraocular muscles intact means that your eyes are working just as they should be. We picked this team name because we believe that this project would help every single patient be able to have that note on their chart. Thank you very much.
Questions?
So does this device eliminate the current surgery, which I presume is just a suture-based
Yeah, so
retensioning of the muscle?
the current surgery with there's a number of different ways they solve it. One of the most common ways is they cut the attachment point, shorten the muscle, and restitch it to where it is. So what this could do is you could have, depending on what the etiology of the strabismus is, if you have a paralyzed muscle, our solution could help facilitate movement of that muscle. If you have a scarred and fibrosed muscle, this our innovation could replace the scarred and fibrosed muscle completely.
Follow up to that, how does your system know how much tension to apply?
So what we've integrated over here is we're measuring the exact amount of tension that's being created by the functional muscle. So you would have a sensor that's, for example, let's say my left-sided muscle on my right eye wasn't functioning properly. There would be a tension sensor on the right-sided muscle, which would then be integrated into a circuit. And depending on the amount of tension being applied, the muscle on the dysfunctional muscle would be contracted appropriately.
So I might have missed it. Is this is a permanent solution? So where I'm going with this is if this is a pediatric population, how is it affected with the growth of?
Yeah. So in most cases, permanent corrective surgery for strabismus occurs after the patient has reached maturity. There are certain strabismus surgeries for infants, and what's usually relied on in those cases is that as the patient grows, whatever alteration was made surgically will allow that patient to have restored eye function, or at least have reduced visual blind or double vision. And so what we would hope is maybe in a population between the ages of 15 and 18, or even adults who've reached growth maturity, they would be able to use such a prosthesis.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're gonna make sure the judges are ready before you start, okay?
Okay, judges, you all ready? Oh, we're still setting. Oh, still setting up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. I know
proof of concepts. Sometimes they're a little bit unwieldy, right?
Yes. Prototype.
That's right.
People carry
That's exactly right.
Well, this is just the power source.
That's right. Okay, great. Thank you very much. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Maximiliano Ortiz, and we are Light Alert. We're going to present to you our product today, and it is infant movement detector. As I said, I am a manufacturing mechanical engineering student. Our team is composed of multidisciplinary students. We have Jessica, she's a biomedical engineering. We have Jessica, she is biomedical engineering. We also have Kristen, she's a medical student. And we have Abby, she's also a medical student, but she's doing rounds today, so she cannot be here with us. Next slide, please. Okay. I already introduced myself. I am a manufacturing mechanical engineer.
And we're going to show you a quick 90-second video about our product.
Erroneous alerts from monitors in the neonatal ICU desensitize nurses and healthcare providers from responding to their patients in true emergencies. This problem of alarm fatigue contributes to significant decreases in quality and efficiency of care. Infant movement and repositioning of the infant is one of the main reasons for erroneous alerts from these monitors. Every baby in the NICU is hooked up to several monitors, including an ECG, pulse ox, and blood pressure monitor. Infants with serious conditions may also need feeding tubes and additional monitors. A device that detects infant movement and repositioning will increase differentiation between true alarms and alarms due to movement, thus decreasing the number of false alarms. Light Alert will integrate with the current alarm algorithm to improve prediction of cardiac and respiratory arrest while decreasing alarm fatigue. Light Alert incorporates accelerometer technology to sense movement. Because real estate space on a baby is so small, the sensors communicate using Bluetooth and can be placed on any part of an infant's upper and lower extremities. When the baby moves, the accelerometer detects movement and transmits data to a Bluetooth-connected device that integrates with the alarm algorithm currently in place. When an infant is being repositioned by a healthcare provider, a button can be pressed near the baby's incubator, which temporarily disables the accelerometers and alarms while the baby is being repositioned and cared for by the nurse. Using accelerometers in conjunction with a button will significantly decrease alarm fatigue and improve quality of care in the NICU.
And its effects on the NICU environment. Yeah, sorry for that. Alarm fatigue has a number of problems because it's a chronic thing. It goes on throughout the day. What it does is it desensitizes the nurse's reaction and the appropriate care that they can provide for the infant in the NICU. 70% of the alarms created by the in the NICU are low to medium alert, medium priority alerts, which are not clinically. You can't really do a lot about it. It's basically the baby moves, and you have to go check up on them and stuff. So aside from that, the nurses, they get tired of listening to all the alarms going off at all times of the day, which in the long run, it basically makes them turn the volume down on the alarms. And this can be a real problem if you have an actual emergency, because you can't differentiate, this alarm is going off, something bad is happening, something bad may not be happening. And our goal is to reduce the margin of error in those decisions. I'll now pass it off to Kristen to explain to you more about our product.
So Texas Children's has already taken some steps to mitigate the false alarms. So they have an algorithm currently in place that detects when a child is going to have a cardiac or respiratory arrest, and it's accurate up to an hour before the actual emergency. One challenge they are currently facing with this algorithm is that there are these false alarms and they're messing with the data, which is causing their predictive capabilities to be lessened. So what our challenge was to see how can we eliminate these false alarms so that the prediction is better. The two main causes of alarms in the NICU are the infant moving and the nurse repositioning the infant. So we took a two-pronged approach, and first we are going to use accelerometers to detect the infant's movement, and then we're also going to use a button for the nurses to press before they handle the child. So as you can see on this baby doll, we have the accelerometers attached to all 4 limbs. So that'll detect when the child's moving. And so as long as the child is moving, the alarms will be silenced. Because we know that the alarm would only be going off simply because of the movement. So we also have a prototype over here. And these components would be within the actual accelerometer, and they would obviously be smaller in real life. And so when you actually move the components, it lights up. So that shows that it's detecting the movement, and we would silence the alarms. Then the button is going to be next to the incubator. The nurse will press the button before she reaches in and changes the baby's diaper or checks the baby's heart, anything that she would normally do. And so that button works for a specified amount of time. So we set it up for 10 seconds right here. So as long as it's lit up, any alarms that are set off will not occur. So that's going to eliminate all of the false alarms that were being caused by the patient moving and the nurses repositioning the patient. I'm going to hand it over to Jessica. She's going to talk about some things that we considered before deciding to pursue this idea.
Before we settled on an idea, we did some research, and currently mattresses that detect a patient's pressure are being used in some hospitals and doctor's offices. So our first thought was to scale this down into a blanket form to be used with infants in the NICU. But we found a lot of variability with patient needs and also devices attached to the patient to monitor it, and also bed position, such as either in an incubator or on a heating pad. So we moved on to our second approach was to use a motion sensor. But since there is variability around the bed setup, it would be hard to restrict the field of motion only to the baby. So we decided on our final approach that Kristen mentioned, which was accelerometer sensors and a push button. The accelerometer sensors are the better choice because they can be adapted to the patient's need. So if a patient has, let's say, a cuff on their foot, you can move the sensor into their hip or to their shin or to their thigh, front or back, it doesn't matter because it will sense when that limb moves. And we're not only restricted to the limbs, it can be put on the torso of the child or even the head on the child if need be. And so now Jessica will talk about the market for it.
So our first market will be the NICU as per the Texas Children's Hospital project, but false alarms are a problem throughout the hospital. So our next market would be the ICU. These patients are also hooked up to many monitors, and the nurses in the ICU also experience alarm fatigue. After that, we would tackle the hospital at large. Even if you're not in critical care, an alarm going off is irritating to the patient and increases the stress of the patient and the nursing staff. So if we can lessen false alarms hospital-wide, we've increased the efficacy of the nursing staff across every single ward in the hospital. As we transition our product into a startup, our production cost goal is to make our product $145 per baby, with our highest priority to be to reduce the adhesive accelerometer's price to the point where they could be disposable. The foam underneath that sticks to a baby will need to be changed as the baby is bathed and moved. And if we have made it disposable, it increases the sanitation of our product, and it increases the convenience to the nursing staff. We will take our product through the 510K pathway through the FDA and start applying for grants from organizations such as the Institute for Pediatric Innovation to fund our work. And as we acquire this funding, our product can create a more peaceful environment in the NICU for the nursing staff, the babies, and their families. We'll now take your questions.
Judges?
So primarily you're considering using adhesives to attach it. Has there been any other thoughts of other ways to mount it, whether Velcro straps or within little mittens or anything like that?
Our initial thought was straps, but then once we talked to the resident who was working in the NICU with these children, she said that straps would be less convenient because depending on what the child has, you know, if they have lines in, you just have less options of where to place it. So she thought having additional leads would be, or additional adhesives would be better. Another idea we considered was attaching these onto a different lead. So say you've already got one lead here, you can just put this on top. Our only concern with that was whether it would, if that lead falls off, then we also just lost our accelerometer.
Because I mean, especially on extreme preemies, not so much regular babies, but their skin is very, very friable and it tends to peel off very easily. So I mean, I would explore other options that won't be as abrasive to the I'm talking like the 25-week or 1 pound baby, that kind of baby. They're not moving a lot anyways because they're kind of out of it. But I think using anything that you can integrate into clothing, integrate into mittens, integrate into something, because it doesn't need direct skin contact, right? It just has to be attached to the child. So I mean, I would explore other options outside of the adhesive. In older babies, the adhesive would be fine in older patients, but I think in the very young, we worry about chafing the skin and damaging the skin.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And technologically, it would make no difference because all the components are contained within this. So if you put a wristband and have a little sleeve in it, not a problem.
Is this Bluetooth always on? I mean, it's always powered?
So there's a battery within that.
One thing I would recommend is you look at the cumulative dose limits for Bluetooth radiation, especially given that you're working with preemies. Because there's a lot of that going on, discussion going on, a lot of research as well. And so is the preemie population more, susceptible?
We decided to take that approach to keep more leads from coming off the body.
Yeah, it's a good pathway, but that's the only risk you're left to mitigate.
Is there a way it could be directed to the 2 or 3, a nurse is caring for 2 or 3 patients? Is there a way this could be individualized so the alarms are not going off constantly throughout the unit? And then how would you have a fail-safe in the event that it did not work so that others could respond?
Okay, Texas Children's Hospital already has an algorithm in place, and so they're looking for a motion sensor or detector to be incorporated into that algorithm. So for example, instead of the light lighting up, it would take an entirely different approach with their system. And then if it did fail, then it wouldn't send out a signal. And the false alarms would keep going off.
And is there a way to, again, direct it to the 2 or 3 providers who are charged with that individual patient rather than alarming through the whole NICU?
So ours actually is not setting off an alarm. When motion occurs or when the button is pressed, it is actually silencing the alarm. So instead of the alarm noising, if it normally would, the baby's flailing around or, moving an arm and their heart rate goes up a little bit. So it's not going to set off the alarm. It'll still log in the system, but it won't actually make noise. And part of what Texas Children's is currently doing is their algorithm is going to be put onto these devices. So each nurse will actually have the list of how each patient is doing. So that's part of what's still in development on their side.
Okay, we're gonna need to move on. I hate to do this, but we need to move on. Thank you very much. Y'all go ahead and get set up. Are y'all ready? Judges, y'all ready? Okay, whenever you're ready to get set up, you can go.
Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Bowman.
I'm Christine Watson.
My name is Marshall Kettler. I'm Christian Brazil. And we are Monlon. Scoliosis affects 600,000 children annually. 38,000 of those patients undergo spinal fusion surgery. 1 in 1,000 patients will lose the ability to use and feel their legs due to complications. This is unacceptable. Here at Monlon, we provide a reliable and accurate device that monitors and analyzes a patient's movements and vitals through a wrist and ankle sensor. The device uses a variety of sensors to collect data and alert the medical staff when normal patterns are disturbed.
app will break down this data into easy to understand categories, such as temperature, heart rate, respiratory rate, and movement. Don't wait until it's too late. Help fight the cause and monitor it all with Monitol.
The problem that we need to address are the complications following post-scoliosis spinal fusion surgery. And every year, 800,000 people are diagnosed with scoliosis. And out of these 800,000, 34,000 of these patients undergo a voluntary scoliosis surgery. And 1 in 10 are actually paralyzed from 1 in 1,000 are paralyzed from the legs down for the rest of their lives.
The complication occurs after the surgery when the spine is straightened and the elongated veins and arteries and nerves are constricted, and blood flow and nerve can't reach the lower body, leading to lower body paraplegia. The only test that we currently have for nurses to check for lower body feeling is to just wiggle the patient's toe.
And there are also just other methods out there, such as heart monitoring. But what sets us apart from everyone else is that we are able to actually simultaneously look at leg movement and oxygen levels. So here at with our company, we will provide a revolutionary product that will change the health industry.
So this paraplegia that occurs after spinal fusion surgery is a very serious problem. As these blood vessels, nerves, as they're pinched overnight, just a little kid will lose his ability to walk for the rest of his life. The statistics show that it's actually 1 out of 1,000 children who walk into the hospital to have their spine fixed will never be able to take another step in their life. And so we here at Monitol, we got to ask ourselves the question, how can we fix that? And so our idea was to place motion sensors on the legs of these patients as they sleep, so that it'll track their motion. There's a certain amount of normal motion that goes on in everyone's legs and their feet. And so we would track what level of motion is normal. And then so after the surgery, we would be able to track, how is that doing? How are they still maintaining the normal amount of leg motion? And if that starts to decrease to a dangerous level that becomes suspicious, the doctor will be notified and the patient will be checked on. So this is the what if question that we were faced with.
So what we did, kind of like he went over, is we just incorporated different sensors into a wrist or ankle band platform. This has given us a new modality to monitor different metrics in patients. So we can monitor a normal amount of motion in legs or arms. So from this, like he said, if we get deviations from that, then a healthcare professional can see that and care can be administered when it needs to be instead of after it's too late. So this can help us decrease the rate of complications from these surgeries.
You can see here, we have a proof of concept. This is obviously pretty bulky. We wouldn't want to put this on a patient, but we want to make it big so that you can see all the technology, the various sensors that are going to be put into these bands, these anklets and such. So that you can see we're dealing with a real technology. The technology is already here. There's just not a platform that's readily used that can be used in this situation. Now, what we would like to do is produce a product where all that electronics is put in a piece about this size. This is 1 square inch, and we've measured it all out with the sensors that we would like to use so that it would all fit right into this. So this is just a little insert that we would then be able to take some sort of band and just insert it in and put it on the patient's appendage, and it would be able to monitor heart rates, respiratory rates, oxygen levels, and motion. So And that's the product. The manufacturing costs are leveled at about $35. And so it's very cost effective. In order to go from patient to patient, you don't have to purchase a new product every time. You just have to remove the insert, wash the band, and it's completely reusable. Those monotol bands, this technology is an elegant solution to the problem of paraplegia after spinal fusion surgery. However, it's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the possibilities that the monotol technology offers. We started thinking about all the different things that we could do, all the different applications that could occur with this band and sensor technology. What if we added a gyroscope to it so that then we were able to place it on a baby's arms or legs, for example, so that they would then be able to tell whether or not the baby has rolled onto its stomach, which could pose a threat to the baby. And then be able to alert parents at home so that they could be sure they're able to keep a check on their baby. Or maybe we'd be able to log all of the data information on how much motion is normal, how much activity there is overnight for the baby. So then the parents would be able to understand the sleep cycle of their kid and maybe get a couple more hours of sleep. Or we thought about another application of being able to take this to nursing homes, being able to monitor heart rates, blood pressures, oxygenation levels, etc., so that the caretakers would be able to really take care of the elderly well and create a safe environment for them. Monotol also has an application to anyone who would have any reason for having a sleep monitoring device. If there's any vital metrics, health metrics, anything like that, that would need to take place overnight, Monotol would be able to take care of that with our system. When we put it into a format that is already being used by hospitals, we would put it in compliance with the standards and formats that are already there. So it wouldn't be an interruption to the system, but it would help the doctors be able to do their job more efficiently and help the patients to be healthier. So in conclusion, the paraplegia that comes after this spinal fusion surgery is a huge problem. Again, I just want to drive home that 1 out of 1,000 kids, just little children that walk into these rooms just to have their spines fixed after a condition, it's an elective surgery, they're never going to be able to take another step again. That's unacceptable. And Monotol is able to provide a solution to that, but also to 100 other problems. So why don't we monitor them all with Monotol? Thanks. We're open for any questions you might have for our team.
Judges?
My only question is kind of a technical one, is how does the pulse ox pick up through that?
So we have holes in the bottom. We don't actually have a pulse ox on this one, right? Just because we don't have them here. But we do have an ECG and a temperature probe, so it'd be just similar to that, and that sits on the skin. Okay. So it just has to have contact.
To an area with lots of blood vessels flowing through there.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you all very much. Judges, are you ready? Ready? Okay. Rory.
Hi, I'm Hannah. Anthony, Surya, Hussein, and Dino. Today, we are going to show you an exciting product that we've been working really hard on called Photoniscope. Photoniscope Industries. Blindness is a major problem worldwide. 300 million people are visually impaired around the world, and 40 million of those are blind. 80% of all visual impairment can be prevented or cured. 65% of blindness occurs in third world countries, and preventing blindness is not an easy task in underdeveloped countries like Africa. Africa lacks major necessities like hospitals, water, electricity, money, food, and medicine. However, one resource is abundant: sunlight. How can we prevent blindness? Ophthalmoscopes allow doctors to prevent blindness by allowing the doctor to see the back of the eye. It is crucial in determining the health of the retina, optic disc, and vitreous humor. Conventional ophthalmoscopes are too costly. We need a cheap and easy-to-use ophthalmoscope. The photonoscope is the perfect solution. By harnessing sunlight, we can create a cheap and sustainable ophthalmoscope. All we need to do is focus sun rays in a fine beam, filter out UV rays, and adjust the brightness of the beam to the desired level. You guys can see from the video, blindness is a problem worldwide and it is preventable. The device used to prevent blindness is called an ophthalmoscope. However, they are too costly for underdeveloped countries to afford. It also requires resources that are not available in those areas, such as batteries and light bulbs. So what we want to try to do is develop a sustainable, cheap ophthalmoscope that uses the resources that are available. The requirements for this, we have 5. We need to harness the sunlight into a fine beam in order to be able to visualize the back of the eye, which is called the fundus. We need to filter out harmful rays, which is a priority, UV rays and IR rays, which can harm the eye. We need to be able to adjust the brightness so the physician or doctor can work in different situations. And we also need proper lighting for the eye exam. So eye exams are generally in the dark. We need to have the patient's eye in a somewhat dark environment. And finally, this product needs to be cost effective.
The current technology that is existing now are that the doctors use expensive battery-powered ophthalmoscopes. There are 2 kinds of ophthalmoscopes, the direct ones and the indirect ones. The direct ones, as you can see, the doctor holds a handheld device and views the back of the eye of the patient, and there's also a cell phone app, where you can do that. The current indirect ophthalmoscope design is basically the doctor places it over his head and focuses the light onto the patient's eye and uses a handheld lens to magnify the retina of the thing. So it uses a rechargeable battery and a whole lot of expensive devices. This makes it way more expensive. It costs about $1,700.
We looked at 3 approaches that we could tackle this problem. So the first approach that we actually looked at was solar panel things that would be charged through, or batteries that could be charged through solar panels. And that wouldn't work because the resources in the areas that we're focusing is not actually available in those areas. So we discarded that idea. Then we looked at the second one, which was fiber optics, and that itself would also be too expensive, and the infrastructure is just not ready as of right now. And the third option is what we went with was with the series of lenses. And
we came through the series of lenses. So as we know, the convex lens converges the light, the power light to a beam. So we went through this prototype. It's like, so that's the prototype shown in the figure. We came with this final device. So this is the actual lens we are using to focus the sun rays to a beam. So the diameter of this is 9 centimeters. Then this is made up of quartz. Quartz is a material which allows 90 to 95% of light to pass through it. But we know visible light consists of 40 to 43% of visible spectrum, and the sunlight consists of 50% of UV rays, and 3 to 5% of UV rays and 50% of IR rays. So we need to eliminate those 50% and this 3 to 5% of UV rays. So we use different filters, the UV filter that is present in here, so that you can see to eliminate the UV rays, and that is made up of zinc oxide and titanium oxide. And we use different kind of filters to adjust the intensity. The third problem was to tackle the intensity, the amount of intensity you are allowing to fall on the patient's eye. That is, for example, if the doctor is working on the kid, then you need to decrease the intensity so that he shouldn't be annoyed. Like for example, you are using this film to control the amount of light that is falling on the patient's eye, so that you can place some slits here so that you can decrease the beam. So the beam should be around 1 mm to 10 mm because it's the size of the back of eye varies from patients to patients. So that's the final 3D printing where, and that's the diagram which shows the actual measurements of the device. This is we actually did it's like it works on the sunlight, so we did the demo on the outside. So this shows the actual demo of the device. The sunlight is actually focused there, so the patient's eye would be there at that presence.
So coming to the cost, like this is a slide explaining the detailed study of the cost. And it is like we have used lens and a filter, and the total sum of it's coming around $22. It's way cheap. It's coming around 61 times cheaper than the existing one. And talking about the benefits, like we are using the safety. Like safety is an important thing. So like we are using the UV and IR filters to eliminate that. And the resources that we are using the design can be used and be available in African countries also. And as I've discussed, it's low cost and we can significantly reduce the blindness in African countries.
So with limited resources and time, we were able to create a device that had the appropriate focus, a beam of light to the appropriate size and intensity. And if given more resources and time, I think we would be able to do some safety testing to really address the safety issue here, which is filtering out the UV and the IR rays. Next slide. Furthermore, this product can be applied in other medical devices that utilize a light. For example, a pen light, which is used in routine physicals, and an otoscope, which is used to look inside the ear canal of the patient. So together with photonoscope, we can prevent blindness in children, such as the one pictured in this image, Blessa Ajoki from Nigeria, who had her cataracts removed. We can also decrease the economic burden that comes with blindness. Thank you so much for listening to our presentation, and thank you to everyone who made this event possible. We'd like to go ahead and open for questions.
I love the marketing looking at the sun to prove it like this. So is the real takeaway here is that you have a product that provides a well-defined light source where you want it. So the source, whether it's the sun or a flashlight or a car headlight, it almost doesn't matter.
Correct.
It's like I didn't get you what you're saying.
The target audience here are third world countries where they don't have any resources. So we have to use the renewable sources, the sun.
I guess what I was going is if you don't, I mean, it's the knock on solar energy, you gotta have the sun. So if a physician is seeing patients in the evening or it's cloudy or whatnot, there certainly are other light sources. There are flashlights in Africa, I've seen them.
Yeah, but the niche statement said that they need the sun.
Any other questions? Is the sole purpose of this just to illuminate the eye, or are you also magnifying the back of the eye?
Yeah, we are magnifying the back of the eye.
The handheld lens that you saw in the current indirect ophthalmoscope is the part that magnifies the eye. What we're doing is just creating a sustainable energy source in a cheap product. So that lens would be the component that's already in the current indirect ophthalmoscope.
Okay, thank you all very much. And let's make sure the judge is ready before we start. specialty already?
Yep.
Okay, go right ahead.
If we could ensure a healthy start for millions globally, would you support that effort? The key to this healthy start is water. The average human body is 65% water, but the World Health Organization states that globally, 780 million individuals lack access to drinking water, and 2.5 billion lack sanitation. As a result, dehydration secondary to diarrhea is the second leading cause of infant death worldwide. Dehydration is treatable if detected early, but infants are unable to communicate their symptoms, so it can go unnoticed until severe levels of dehydration are reached. If we had a method to detect dehydration in infants, we could prevent millions of deaths and enable millions more to be healthy and happy. That's where Dehydr comes in. We've incorporated a saliva analysis channel into a pacifier to detect one of the most important measures of health, hydration levels. Our solution seamlessly integrates a biometric sensor into a pacifier, which allows parents to safely monitor the child at home while providing physicians with valuable insight into the hydration status of their patient. Together, we can protect children from this deadly condition and defeat dehydration.
Hi everyone, we are Dehydr. I'm Grace. This is Scott, Maggie, and Joey. So dehydration, put simply, is just when the body loses fluid at a greater rate than it can replace them. This becomes especially dangerous when it's detected late, and there are serious complications such as heat stroke, coma, and even death. Young children especially are very susceptible to this, and especially when it is secondary to a gastrointestinal disease. This becomes a larger problem in less developed countries where lack of water and sanitization are huge problems. In these countries, malnutrition and diarrheal disease cause a serious health problem, and the CDC estimates that 2 million deaths occur for children under the age of 5 because of dehydration secondary to those. So there is a clinical need for a simple device that can monitor hydration levels of a child from home. Current approaches to monitoring dehydration are both qualitative and quantitative. The qualitative measurements are things such as skin turgor, a depressed fontanelle, and then the quantitative measurements are very expensive, time-consuming, and invasive. So we're looking to replace that. Our solution is the Dehydr pacifier. Our pacifier uses another one of the qualitative measurements that physicians use, which is the physical changes that occur in the saliva. Our pacifier will monitor the changes in conductivity of the saliva as the electrolytes change in response to dehydration. Other solutions that we considered were a urinalysis diaper or a handheld ultrasonic device. These options didn't allow us to monitor continuously, nor did they relay the important physiologic information to the physicians that we wanted.
So we came up with a solution based on 8 requirement needs. These requirement needs include the ability to be able to monitor continuously, to be used at home by non-medical professionals, to be able to communicate measurements with the physicians, to take measurements non-invasively, and to be safe, simple, economic, and durable. And based on our needs, we came up with this design. So this diagram on the screen basically shows our prototype taking all our parts apart. So we have a pacifier, which has an opening in the middle of the mouthpiece that connects to a tubing. This tubing uses capillary action to draw in saliva sample. It also has a one-way valve to prevent saliva backflow back into the baby's mouth. And this tubing is going to make an entrance into a testing chamber, which contains electrodes that will measure the conductivity of the saliva. And we know that the conductivity is proportionate to the electrolyte concentration. So the higher conductivity, higher concentration, less hydration. And lastly, at the end of the test chamber, it will empty into a waste collection chamber, which can be further used as a bulk sample for a detailed analysis by the physician at the clinic.
So to prove our concept, we used an Arduino Uno to build a simple conductivity probe with a indicator LED and a thermistor. And we use this to measure the conductivity changes of different varying concentrations of salt in water. And using these measurements, we were able to essentially calibrate our device so that we could output concentration values within physiologic ranges. And so we also built this actual size prototype where you can see we have indicator LEDs to help alert caretakers, especially in places where they wouldn't have a smartphone to communicate with an app. And we have our 3D printed sample collection chamber and waste collection reservoir at the back. This is also where we would ideally place our minimized conductivity probe circuitry and a rechargeable battery.
So in the last 3 days, we've made a great deal of progress with our design, but there are some additions we would like to have in the future that will just make the device more easy to use. We would hope to enable the device to connect to a smartphone through Bluetooth in order to relay any information that was collected by the pacifier. You can see over here that we have a very simple interface that we created a mock-up, and we hope that it would be very easy and intuitive to use for both doctors and parents. In the beginning, the user is prompted to enter whether they are the parent or the doctor, and if they have more than one child, then the status of whichever child. For the parents, we have a status indicator that tells you what time the dehydration level was checked along with the level of dehydration. And for every different type of dehydration level, we have a different interface set up. So in the case of a severe dehydration, the parent is informed that information is being stored into the phone or the app for the physician to use in order to determine what the next step is to solve the dehydration problem. Along with that, the parents can make any comments that they want about any observations they've made about the child's dehydration status, as well as anything they have been doing in order to alleviate that dehydration. Also, in the case of the dehydration, the parent will be informed through a notification that the child is dehydrated, and it sends out a warning that something should be done. Now, in the case of the physician, we have a statistics page that delivers any information collected by the device along with any of the information that the parent has already stored. So we have the level of dehydration, the date this level was taken, the patient's name, date of birth, the concentration of the ion we are measuring in the saliva, along with the time frame that the saliva measurement was taken. And then also adds any comments that were made by the parent for ease of access.
We truly believe that this product will be important in the US. However, we realize we can achieve a greater impact through the use of our technology in impoverished countries. To this end, we propose a 1-for-1 deal. For every device we sell in the United States, one device will be provided to a community of need. We understand the broad nature of our technology. Therefore, we plan on integrating our device and our design into many other platforms, maybe mouth guards, military equipment, and any other application in which dehydration detection may be beneficial. We hope to increase the capabilities of our sensors. We hope to allow them to detect pH, temperature, and also breathing rate. We plan to enter the market by establishing substantial equivalence to a pre-approved FDA marketed device. Through the implementation of special controls and general controls, we know that our device will be safe and it will be effective. Our pacifier has always had the ability to make a baby stop crying. Now, we can help you know why. Thank you.
Just questions. So did you guys actually collect data to demonstrate?
Yes, we have it in a supplementary slide.
Yeah, so that shows our change in voltage with varying concentration of salt in our solution. And we realize it is limited with our limited time, but we would hope to do more experimentation with physiologic solutions and confirm that this works with more experiments.
Would it be technically feasible to include a temperature probe?
Yeah, so to measure the conductivity, conductivity actually changes with temperature. So we have our thermistor connected that we use for our measurements. And then we also think that we might need another temperature probe to measure the temperature of the patient. But that could be an important consideration because fever can also be a symptom of dehydration, and it's obviously important.
Okay, thank you all very much. All right, now we're going to take the judges and I'm going to go into another room. We're going to do a quick deliberation. We'll be back. Judges, I'll ask you if you take all of your material with you. Those of you around, we're going to ask you to take down these tables in the front and give us some more opportunity. We'll roll this table out of the way as well so that we have a clear area up here. At the end of the award ceremony, we do want to get a group shot of everybody together, but this way we'll have an opportunity to congratulate the winners and just finish everything out. So it'll take us about 10 minutes. We'll be back in just a few minutes. And we'll see you soon. Judges, we'll be going into conference room 1, which is just down the road.
I was for about 5 years. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna take all those things down. Thank you. Where do you want?
Yeah.
That in school we can't do a Perrier award speech yet.
Okay, now Wi-Fi, Bluetooth Wi-Fi. Yeah, yeah. Now I got temperature sensors. It's like we can put on all these sensors, right? Yeah. And then,
They're not as accurate and they're Like litmus test.
Like, I was like really impressed, especially even when they asked like the question if they were still trying to keep it going. Like, I think they like just did a good job of like understanding like what's yeah. I think
Gather everybody here. Gather everybody.
Yeah, but the
Checks. You can move that wherever you want.
Yeah, this last one was just
Yes.
It's exciting, and also we'll try to continue to pursue. It's hard. Trying to get them to just know.
You help out at all? I heard of other events elsewhere. In-house. Yeah. I'm actually a little bit of that, but it's still family. So, yeah.
All right, let's gather everybody back in. Come on. Come on back in. We're almost done. I've got some very exciting news for everybody. So come on back in. Y'all filter back in. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. First of all, I have to tell you that personally, I am incredibly amazed at where you made progress from when you started. When you came here less than 48 hours ago, you didn't know each other. Most of you had no idea what half of the medical terms that you're talking about now had any clue about. So you've made an amazing amount of progress, and you really have done outstanding. So outstanding that Dr. Mogford is going to give every one of the teams $250. So, it'll be after Thanksgiving, but we're a place, we'll divide up the money and you'll find it in your student accounts, all right? We'll get it into your student accounts. So, now, without further ado, we're going to announce the top 3 winners out of this. I do want to say many of you had outstanding ideas, and we really, really want to see you continue to develop them. Please, please get in touch with us and let us help you continue the development. All right. The first check. We're going to let Kristen Banks give this check. And the third place goes to Light Alert.
Do you want to stay on? No?
Do the gig'em sign.
All right, congratulations. All right, Dr. Cecilio is going to provide the second place award. And this is, the second place award goes putting the fun back in Fundus.
Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Y'all paid the checks. Y'all I did not, right? A thumbs up though, or I'm taking it back.
Yeah, she's sick.
She got
We'll split the money.
cut. Oh, you will?
Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. And Dr. Spear will provide the first place award. The first place award goes to Dehydr Tech.
What's the check?
Yeah, thumbs up. Excellent. Yeah, very good. Kick 'em right. Kick 'em. We thought it would work at Northgate and at Caulfield.
All right.
Okay, now, everybody will come up here real quick. Let's get a real quick group shot. Come on. Come on, grab some of those chairs. Somebody's going to have to sit down in front. Get everybody together. Let's get everybody in here.
Thank you.
Come on, call people in the back.